The crypto industry, would you acknowledge that your family has benefited from those changes?
No, I think one has nothing to do with the other. I think, crypto is modern day finance. And what do you say? What are you going to do? Stay out of the financial industry when you've been in business for your entire life? But nothing I do has anything to do with the White House. Nothing I do has anything to do with Washington, D.C. I try and stay as far away from that place as humanly possible.
In a world flooded with headlines and noise, truth doesn't shout. It stands firm. You're watching World Insight Hub, where reason outlasts outrage and facts speak louder than spin. Before we dive in, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the next breakdown. Now let's get into it. Eric Trump's calm dismantling of Kaitlin Collins wasn't just a debate moment. It was a reality check for a media machine that still can't understand how composure beats chaos. CNN tried painting crypto as some secret Trump family scheme, as if progress itself is suspicious when it doesn't come from Washington. But Eric flipped that narrative without raising his voice. He made it simple. Crypto isn't corruption, it's evolution. While the political class clings to the past, Americans are already building the future. The establishment treats innovation like a threat, but for families who've actually worked in business, not bureaucracy, this new economy represents opportunity, not scandal. And here's the irony. The same network that ignored real insider trading in Congress is suddenly outraged over private citizens investing in the free market. That's not journalism. That's selective outrage. Eric Trump didn't just defend his family. He defended a principle, that American progress shouldn't need permission from the press. Because the truth is simple, confidence in innovation is not a crime, and when media spin collides with facts, composure wins every single time.
I wonder how you navigate it, because last week your dad threatened 100% tariffs on Chinese imports and threatened export controls on that. It led to this huge panic sell. It cost some investors billions of, as you know. I do wonder how you navigate that and how you deal with that, given obviously your dad has a lot of power over this industry, and obviously your family also has a pretty big stake in it.
I've never been more proud of the U.S. I mean, we were losing our standing around the world. I would travel around the world, Kaitlan, and people were embarrassed. People were embarrassed by Joe Biden. People were embarrassed by this country. They were embarrassed by the leadership of this country. They were embarrassed by DEI. They were embarrassed by men my size swimming in women's sports. We have a country that's back. We have a country that's doing incredibly well. We have a country where oil prices is falling tremendously. We have a country where inflation is back to normal rates. We have a country that everybody wants to be a part of. My father's brought in close to $17 trillion back into the United States of America, all money that would never have been there before. He's doing amazing things for our economy, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to see it, and I think every American should be applauding from the rooftops because the guy is doing an unbelievable job. It's exactly what this nation needed at the right time.
Well, but you're praising him, and in your book, we know one thing I was thinking, I'm on here on Capitol Hill, and in your book, you criticize how members of Congress are allowed to buy and sell stock. You don't think that should be able to happen. Obviously, that's a big criticism that we've heard from other people. But when it comes to you said you have nothing to do with what your father's administration is doing, that doesn't have anything to do with this. But I think some people might want to know, how do you determine, whether something is a conflict of interest? Who really is doing that in this position for you?
Well, we have external ethics advisors. We take that very, very seriously. But yeah, no, I have a huge problem when Nancy Pelosi front runs every trade vis-a-vis her husband, 3 weeks before her legislation gets passed. Yeah, I have a real problem with that. I mean, Nancy Pelosi has made Warren Buffett, look like a lukewarm investor based on some of her trades, all based on inside information. I find it disgusting. I have no inside information. I have nothing to do with Washington, D.C. I have nothing to do with any kind of legislation. But no, I find it wholly troublesome when U.S. senators and Congress people, before they vote on legislation, are putting in trades that double, triple, quadruple their money. I find a real problem with that.
When Kaitlin Collins pushed further, bringing up tariffs and conflicts of interest, you could almost feel the setup coming. She mentioned Trump's threat of new tariffs on China and hinted that it might somehow affect Eric's investments. A question meant to corner him, not to clarify anything. But again, Eric didn't take the bait. Instead, he pointed to something bigger: how America's standing in the world has actually turned around. He talked about strength returning, about pride coming back, and about how people overseas now see the United States as confident again, not confused. That's what frustrated CNN the most, because it's not just about tariffs, It's about tone. Eric reminded them that under Trump, the country wasn't apologizing for success. Energy prices were falling, the economy was rebuilding, and America looked capable again. You could almost sense how that confidence makes Washington insiders uncomfortable. They're used to excuses and caution, not momentum and results. And that's really the divide on display here. For the media, leadership is about consensus. For the Trumps, it's about conviction. And when Eric drew that line, it didn't sound rehearsed. It sounded like someone who's seen the difference up close.
I really don't. I mean, my father was a great proponent of the industry because the industry came out in a very, very big way for my father. My father spoke at all the Bitcoin conferences, obviously, as he was running and even before he was running. And the industry embraced him and he embraced the industry because guess what? This is the future of finance, right? You can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. America would get run over if you ignored cryptocurrency. Everything is done better, faster, cheaper. I mean, Kaitlan, you want to go out and get a mortgage for your house. Why? You go to JP Morgan Chase. It takes you 120 days to get that mortgage. Why? Why? I mean, if you have the assets in the bank, why can't you get the money instantaneously? Why can you not send a wire transfer at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday? It won't get there until Monday. Why is traditional finance so slow? Why is it so antiquated? Why is it so expensive? There's nothing that can't be done better, cheaper, faster on the blockchain, and that's a beautiful thing for the United States.
I see your point that you're arguing that you think it's better. Obviously, your dad does have a big stake in the business, but I want you to hear something that Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say about this. She's a really big supporter of your father's, as you know. This is something that she said just recently.
Have regular people's bank accounts been affected? Has the stress come off? No, that has not happened yet, and that needs to be the major focus. It shouldn't be about helping your crypto donors or your AI donors or welcoming in these people that hated you and spent money to try to beat you, but all of a sudden are excited to come out to the new Rose Garden patio.
What's your reaction to that?
I'm not really sure what that means. I mean, I think she's trying to describe lobbyists, and I think that probably the person that hates lobbyists the most in Washington, D.C. is my father. He never was supported by lobbyists.
Donors.
Lobbyists never gave my father any money. You know, I mean, listen, Kaitlan, in all fairness, you were there with us through it. My father, he self-funded his entire first campaign minus a little bit of money. You know, if there's one person who wasn't taking money from lobbyists, it was Donald Trump. It seems like everybody else in Washington, D.C.
When Eric Trump turned the conversation toward Washington's hypocrisy, everything shifted. You could almost feel the air tighten because this wasn't just about crypto anymore, and it was about trust. He didn't have to yell. He didn't have to perform. He simply said what most Americans already see every day. The same politicians who lecture about ethics are the ones quietly trading stocks tied to their own legislation. And that's the core of it, isn't it? The outrage from the media isn't about corruption. It's about control. They aren't mad that people succeed. They're mad when people succeed without them. That's why Trump's independence still threatens the system. Because it reminds the political class that power doesn't belong to the insiders. It belongs to the people who earn it. Eric's calm response wasn't defiance, it was discipline. He didn't flinch, didn't fold, didn't give the media the meltdown they were fishing for. Instead, he did what every American hopes a leader will do. Speak directly, tell the truth, and move forward with purpose. Pause. And that's what we stand for here on World Insight Hub. In a world of noise and narratives, we stay rooted in principle, faith, freedom, and accountability. Because leadership isn't measured by outrage, it's measured by integrity when the cameras stop rolling. This is World Insight Hub, where clarity cuts through chaos and conviction always has the final word. Thanks for tuning in.